Hello students, welcome to the session of Master Mains PYQs. So today we will take up the question on governance that we left yesterday. And the question, this is the last question of governance that was asked in CSE 2023 paper of GS paper 2. So the question was, discuss the contribution of civil society groups for women's effective and meaningful participation and representation in state legislatures. This was question number 14. It was a 15 marks and you are supposed to write this in 250 words, right? So this pertains to the role of NGOs, SHGs and other associations part of your syllabus. So it's given there. So role of civil society is where you can locate this particular question in your syllabus. Now, if you look, this question has a overlapping area with a political party representation in state legislatures. But effectively, the question is talking about contribution of civil society groups regarding this meaningful and effective participation. So you have to focus more on the role of these civil society groups. The second thing that you need to notice here is the question starts with discuss, and often we have discussed this while discussing answer writing also, that discuss when placed in the beginning of the question can mean debate based on the context of the question, right? So you have to understand the discourse of the question, right? And you have to understand whether you need to debate on the topic or whether you have to agree and write an answer that is validating the discourse, right? So you can essentially see that contribution of civil society groups, as far as civil society groups are concerned, they have contributed immensely to women's political participation, increasing voter turnout, political leaders coming from various NGOs, SHGs, etc. Right? So those things are there. Right, but yes, there are some concerns. They have not been able to resolve the issues of women's political participation completely. So you have to bring out that aspect in the answer also. So you can take it like a 70-30 ratio. You can keep 70% of the answer should highlight the role of civil society groups, and then the 30% you can bring out the challenges in this regard. Right, now the first thing that we do in any answer is to figure out how to write an introduction, right? So introduction, which sets the tone of your answer, is very important. Now if you look here, there can be varied approaches to write introduction. You can use the data approach by taking up data showcasing the representation of women in Indian parliament and legislature, basically the political representation, etc. And another approach also, which is a very effective approach, is to understand, write a general introduction, making sure that you cover the discourse, you explain the context that is provided, right? So if we talk about civil society groups have you can write a very general introduction. What are civil society groups, right? So civil society groups basically are voluntary associations. They are the aggregate of various NGOs or individuals, right, who work outside the realm, or they basically operate outside the realm of government organizations, right? So that is the fundamental idea that distinguishes a civil society group from a government entity, right, or any other organization which is working for profit, right? So it is that arena where citizens come together to express, to promote, and to defend their collective interest. So you can write, they come to express, promote, and defend their collective interest. Now, as far as the role of civil society, as far as the women's political participation is concerned, so they have worked immensely to ensure meaningful participation for women in the political arena, and in particular the state legislatures. How they have done it? They have provided ground for training. They have ensured that resource availability to the women is provided, capacity development is done, right? So this is the idea basically that you need to summarize in the introduction. Next, we will move to the body part of the answer. Now, in the body, you have to first highlight the contribution of civil society groups for women's effective participation in state legislatures, right? So that is the first part of the answer you have to highlight. So we'll create a heading: contribution of CSOs in ensuring women's effective participation in state legislative assemblies, right? So that is what the question is basically talking about. And then you can start highlighting various points using subheadings. So the very first point that you can take up is the advocacy and awareness generation role. Now, as far as CSOs are concerned, the various civil society organizations, they are at the forefront of advocating various policies and other legislative measures that promote gender equality, right? Various measures that promote gender equality to ensure the political participation of women, right? So that is their primary role. And also they engage in various awareness campaigns, right? They engage in various awareness campaigns which highlight the need to include women in decision making process through political participation, representation in the state legislative assembly or the parliament, right? And to substantiate that, you can take the example of the women's wings of various political parties. Now, different political parties have their own women wings. For example, under INC, they have a Mahila Congress, right? They have Bharatiya Mahila Morcha under BJP. So these wings, they are very pivotal in mainstreaming the women's issues within the political party, right? So that is something that you can write to substantiate this point. Moving on to the next point. The next point you can talk about various reforms. They advocate various reforms, legal reforms, constitutional reforms. So as far as reforms are concerned, civil society work towards influencing various legal reforms that act as a barrier to women's political participation. So they initiate legal reforms that are basically acting as a barrier to women's political participation. They advocate for such necessary changes in laws or adequate reservation policies, right? So reservation policy, demand for reservation policy is something that has been coming from civil societies for a long time now. And one of the prominent examples of this would be the Bharat Jagruti, founded by K. Kavita. The Bharat Jagruti, founded by Miss K. Kavita, right? Which has actively promoted the passage of Women Reservation Bill in recent times, right? Moving on to the next point. Now, most of the civil society organizations, they are often involved in some sort of social movement against any of the ill practices that are prevalent in the society which are affecting the women. Now, the leaders that emerge from these kinds of movements, the leaders of various NGOs that are involved in these movements, they are often seen to get a political, they are often chosen representative by the people, and that starts their political career. And one of the examples of this would be Miss S. Mangama of Andhra Pradesh, right? So she started as a leader of a NGO working on women's issues, and today she is a MLA in the Andhra Pradesh Legislative Assembly. Also, evidence suggests that the CSO leaders are often chosen, right? They are chosen as potential pradhans or representation. They are chosen for represented in the Panchayati Raj institutions, which often in future translates into the participation in state legislature. And one of the examples of this would be Miss Lakshika Dagar from Unnao, right, in UP. So this is something that evidence has shown in recent times. Because of their action on ground, they often get a boost as far as political participation is concerned. Now, the next important role of the CSOs you can highlight is research and data collection. Research and data collection. Now, research and data collection by civil society groups, it contributes to understanding the challenges faced by women in the political arena. right? And it also, through this research and data collection, it is very important in formulating a very evidence based advocacy strategy, right, for inclusion of women in the political process and to improve solutions and recommendations of the policies. So this is something that is one of the most important roles by various CSO groups, and one of the prominent examples of this would be the research studies that have been conducted by NGOs like ADR, Association of Democratic Reforms, the National Election Watch. So it has been pivotal in bringing the issue of underrepresentation of women to light in recent times, right? The next point that you can highlight is the role of CSO in training of women leaders. So CSO also plays a very important, so they conduct various workshops to conduct training programs, right, and enhance the leadership of women both in the social and political sphere. They enable them to contest elections, they provide them with capacity and resources to do so. So one of the prominent examples of this would be the National Foundation for India, right? So the National Foundation for India is at the forefront to promote leadership amongst women. It provides awards, it provides various opportunities, provides for dialogues between stakeholders in order to do so, right? The next important point that you can highlight is community mobilization. Community mobilization. Now, as far as community mobilization is concerned, community mobilization is the key strategy that is employed by CSOs to undertake behavioral change, right, in any society. So CSO groups, by when they engage with the local communities, right, they raise awareness about the benefits of including women in the decision making process, that is first, and also in this process they'll help the cause of women by ensuring that they change the societal attitudes and norms that are pertaining with regards to women leadership in the society at present, right? So this to a certain extent lowers the problems and challenges for women as far as political participation is concerned. So one of the very prominent examples of community mobilization you can take is the Mahila Rajsatta Andolan. So Mahila Rajsatta Andolan basically started in the state of Maharashtra. So this campaign with women to include women in the decision making process evolved in March 2000 with some 30 NGOs working together to empower and strengthen the women to ensure that they participate in the PRI institutions. So this is a very good example of community mobilization being employed to improve women's political participation at the grassroots level, right? So these are the points that you need to highlight in the first part. Then we will come to the second part of the answer. So we have to highlight the challenges to women political participation also. So we will create another heading, that is challenges to women's political participation, right? So the very first thing that should ideally come to your mind is the patriarchal attitude that is prevalent in the society. So the society is not ready to accept women leadership. That is one of the foremost problems. So dominance of patriarchal mindset is something that is a big hindrance as far as women's political participation in India is concerned. And this is most prevalent in rural areas where you can see the culture of Sarpanch Pati is still prevalent, where women basically from the reserve seat, when a woman contests and wins, she is basically represented by her husband. Her husband occupies the office and the woman is just a titular head, right? So that is also there. Now, deep gender bias and stereotype also restrict women's functionality as far as when she is part of the state legislature is concerned. So this can be clearly seen that women in state legislatures are also not given very key portfolios, right? So that is something which is very concerning, the gender bias and the stereotypes that exist in the political sphere. Now, as far as the political sphere is concerned, so women always faces sexual and verbal harassment. Right, it's a part and parcel of Indian political process. So sexual and verbal harassment in the political sphere is something that acts as an obstacle to the participation of women in India. Right. Also, there is very little support from political parties for women participating in politics. So only the resourceful. One of the biggest problems for women in India is that elections in India is not state funded at the present moment, and women always are facing issues with respect to resources. So they suffer from crucial resource constraint. So resource constraint is there, right? Resource constraint is there, and also the needed capacity, right? The needed acumen to engage in the political sphere. The next important point that is a challenge that you can highlight, that there is a limited access as far as political training in India is concerned, capacity building is concerned, right? And there is a poor access to, in general, other opportunities such as education and skills, which in general act as a deterrent from her participation in the political process is concerned. So these are some of the challenges that you can highlight in this particular answer, which act as a deterrent for women's political participation in India. Then you have to come to the conclusion aspect of the answer. Now, in the conclusion, you need to be forward looking, right? You can briefly summarize your answer and then you need to be forward looking, because this is an issue based question. So as far as the entire summary goes, so we can clearly say that CSOs, definitely the civil society organizations, definitely they are the drivers of women's political participation, right? We cannot deny that civil society organizations have not done enough, right? So be it in the state legislature or other similar democratic processes are concerned, CSOs definitely are drivers, but there are inherent challenges that women face in the society, which is still leading to poor participation of, in general, the masses amongst the women concerned, right? And the recent 106th amendment, right, that was passed, which has granted women reservation in state legislative assemblies and the parliament, has opened up a new prospect of opportunities for women to ensure and very inclusive and participatory election process in India, right? So this is the conclusion that you need to highlight in your answer, right? And with this we have completed the governance part. So we will soon meet again with social justice and IR that is left. Till then, please keep writing answers, keep watching our videos. Please also engage in the comment section. If you liked something, please do share with us. Do share with your friends and peers who are still not aware of this initiative. I'm sure that a lot of you who are watching these videos continuously have benefited immensely from this program. Thank you.